Team building. I know you've heard it before, but I'm going to say many of you in this room have never belonged to a team. You've belonged to a very, very functional group that, in fact, with a great leader that gives directions, and then you go out and do your assignments, and together you're able to accomplish something. We're going to go through team building now. We're going to use a book as our catalyst here, and we're going to take a look at an example. We're looking at a multi-agency homicide. I spent a lot of my career running multi-agency homicides, which can be so difficult because you truly don't have the power to direct people to go exactly where you want, and they're very creative when they lose hope in your case and they start disappearing. We're going to use a book by Maxwell. You know, Maxwell wrote Swimming with Sharks is one of his most famous, but this one's called The 17 Indispensable Laws of Teamwork. So we're going to use each of those as we walk through and look at this multi-agency homicide. And it should help you because many of you in your career, you think the answer is always a team. Sometimes teamwork and a team is not the best avenue. Sometimes you're better to have a good, we'll call group, with a good leader who directs. But there's a power in a team far beyond one incident. And the more you build into a team, the greater you're going to find that it will accomplish so much more. But teams don't always work, and many times it ends up to be a bigger problem if you don't develop and know what a team is than just telling people what to do and hold them accountable. So don't think teams fit everything. So let's take a look as we walk through. Each of them is going to have what the rule is, and then we'll have some information, and then we'll talk about it. All right, rule number one, the law of significance. One is a small number, and the greater the number of people organized, the greater you can accomplish. You can't do everything alone. That you bring people in, they develop, they're able to do things, you trust them. I worked in a management team with so low trust by the leader that she second-guessed and did everything, and after a while, people basically shut down. So let's look at with that, you'll see the format. Each of these will have what I'll call an error. Is an error to believe that you do not need others, that you can do everything yourself, that you know everything's going on. I've had people say, but if I trust others, what happens? What if they do it wrong? That's right. It's not easy. You know if you do it yourself, you're going to do it the way you want. But how much can one person do? Now let's take a look and start with my homicide. I'm going to talk about it in two ways, like an investigator and like when I'd be brought out to lead this with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. You get a case, a young girl's found. This case we're going to look at is a girl that was murdered, found in a park. Father becomes a suspect in the case. We don't know who did it. There's people that live in the area. There's all kinds. As any of you with any experience in this know, as you dig, you find more and more people of interest. So you're working the case. There's let's say there's one of you or two of you. If it isn't solved in a couple days, you got the media's going, everybody's going, and it becomes overwhelming. And yet your caseload doesn't change. You have other cases. It reaches the point that it's the only thing you can do is bring in a team of people. Now, I've seen sometimes they bring in a SWAT team, or they bring in, some group, a narcotic team, who aren't used to working the cases. So you say, okay, I need help. You put the call out. Now, law enforcement is great. You put the call out, they come. What do you do? Well, like I said, for a big part of my career, I ran these. I was a case agent long before I was in the cold case unit and ran these. So we come, we look at it, we put together, we organize it, and we can do so much more. But I know it's hard if you're the investigator because if you do it your way, it's the way you want it, and now you trust people, and people make mistakes. It's an error to believe you can do everything. That's why we put a team together. Let's go to the next scenario. Teamwork. The law of the big picture. The goal is more important than the role. What we're trying to accomplish is more important than you. In fact, it's cute story, I want to call it cute. I had a guy come work in a cold case, and he said, here, I want your help, but it's my case. I said, I'm going to try and take your case. No, it's my case. I've worked for years. This is mine. Missing the point, it's not yours. The goal is what we're trying to accomplish. Now, goal is an important word. What is the goal of a cold case unit? What is the goal? No, I'm sorry. What is the goal of working a multi-agency investigation? The goal is not to solve the case. The goal is to get a lot of work done with a group of trained people in a shorter period of time than you ever could do alone. So that may reach a point with this understanding the true objective that the unit is shut down, the multi-agency unit is shut down because it's not, the leads have cut down, but it has nothing to do with your success. Big area to say this unit, I keep calling cold case unit because I worked a lot of those, that this multi-agency task force will really solve the case. It may do wonderful and do a great job and never yet get to that level, and it may be years before you do. But yet it pulled it brought everybody, you got all the information together and did an amount of work that you couldn't even have thought of doing. It would take you years to do that. That is more important. Let's look at, it's an error to believe that a team does not need clear goals and objectives. So you set up rules and what we do and how we do it. You set up teams within teams, as you look at it. But people need to know what the purpose is. They need to be involved. They're not just laborers. They're magic how they can disappear if they're not committed and feel like they're part of the team. The rule. All players have a place where they add value to the team. Find their niche, find their strength. In this multi-agency task force, I would have people, guys 55, 60 years old, been around for a long time, and be blunt, he's tired. I have another person, he's 22 years old, you can't even get to go home and to change a uniform because he's going to miss something. I have another person. And each of them have strengths. So who are they? Figure out who your people are, what are their strengths, and try to keep people where they fit in the multi niches within the team. And a lot of times you have no choice who you get. And a lot of times you might get the person that they don't really know what to do with. Maybe they're injured, maybe they're not productive, and yet another agencies may send you the best of the best. They all have strengths. Find out their strengths, listen to them, and put them where they fit best. All right, it's error to believe that a team does not need strengths at all members and all levels. We all have strength. Find them, use them, and use them to your best. Let's continue with our little travel. The rule of Mount Everest, in other words, as a challenge escalates, the need for teamwork gets greater. As this becomes greater and the pressure gets there and the challenges, and sometimes challenges, it looks like it's dead. There's no more leads. You make leads. You find things. You work with the media. You get at least 3 good tries with the media. You go out and build leads. It's like being in sales and sitting at home and waiting for the phone to ring, or do you call people? Do you knock on doors? So the greater the team can make leads for you. There's an error to believe that teams are not a critical aspect towards success as we accomplish this task. And the greater the task, the greater we're going to need people to pull together and work together as a team. Now we talked about groups. If this is all about me as a leader and you're not committed in here, there becomes a difference. This is when this will start falling apart. The more you build that team, the stronger it will be in the good times and the bad times. The rule of the chain, teams are really as good as the weakest link. Bottleneck, you want to call it. They talk about a story in this book. A bunch of scouts, young kids, Cub Scouts, going on a hike. What speed can we go? Only as fast as the slowest person. So what do? We then take stuff away from that person, lighten up their load. So that becomes a difference in a team. A team wins together, a team loses together. If we have a bottleneck, a problem, and a bottleneck means some way everything's slowed down. Maybe it's the reports being done. Maybe it's certain aspects. Then we pull together to help each other, and that's what changes a team. You aren't an individual in there. We win together, we lose together. If there's a problem somewhere, we work and we help each other. We help the team's success. Again, it's an error to believe that not everybody must be held accountable for the team's success. Everybody. So everybody, and accountability, talked before, is an important aspect to understand. It is not a hammer, it's setting standards and holding everybody to the same standards. The rule of the catalyst. Winning teams, players who make things happen. We make things happen. We create the leads. We find things. We don't just go out and do a task. We're looking how to do a better job here. So an error to believe that team success is not directly related to the individual team member's willingness to meet the challenge. And that's where I say motivation. They need to belong and feel like they belong to the team. If it's all about you and all about your success, it doesn't take long for what we'll call a quasi-team to fall apart. It is work. It keeps you involved, and it's not easy. It's so much easier to do it yourself. Your success rate is lower, but it's so much easier. It takes a lot of work to keep people motivated and involved and want to belong to a team. Really, the compass, vision, direction. Vision gives the members of the team direction and confidence. Vision, that they know where they're going to go, they know why we're doing it. And again, we talked about it before. If the vision is solving this, and then when times get tough and it looks like we're not going to, we're failures. They feel like it. If your vision is accomplishing so much stuff with the goal of accomplishing it, but our objective is to accomplish so much stuff within the period of time. Some teams last for years, but many of them have a shelf life. It's like a business cycle. They're strong, they're going to be working, it's going to go great, and things are going to start dying off. You, as a team leader, or members of the team, can keep this thing alive. Let's take a look at Air to believe that it is not important to have a shared vision. We all believe. Now, when I talk about a homicide of a little girl, it's easy for people to buy into this team because we have this child and a family and everybody. But some of the less significant teams, you know, if people don't believe in it, they're only going to give you very little, and then it becomes a challenge to get people committed to it. Team building, the bad apple. You got, in every group, you have the one that tears apart everything people do. And they're behind the scene, typically. You don't have the courage to stand up and say it and be held accountable. You need to identify, and if you can't correct it, you get rid of them or you isolate them. A bad apple starts to tarnish or affect everybody. It's an old saying, a bad apple and a bushel of apples starts making all the apples rotten. So it's critical. This is not a small thing. You know, and the more you build a team, the less probability. Normally the bad apple comes, a person joins your team or never did develop into a team. And so this is a key area, can hurt a lot. It is an area to believe that negative or disruptive individuals, you know, don't have an effect on the team. They do. They have a massive effect. They're tearing it apart. You need to address it. You need to deal with it. And the goal is the team address it. A healthy team will address it. The rule of accountability, not accountability. Team members must be able to count on each other. Trust. Watch your back doesn't mean lying and doing something and protecting you. But if there's an opening or a problem or a difficulty, that they stand up and you know they're there with you. You know, it's pulling together. Air to believe that that trust is not a major aspect of the team. And this is going to take us to a lecture we're going to be doing next about the key of trust. You need to trust each other. You're going to make mistakes. Something's not going to work. You shouldn't find out they're all bad-mouthing behind your back. You know, the more you try being creative, the higher probability you're going to have errors on your way to success. You shouldn't have to watch your back every minute. You know, and that becomes key. That changes from a dysfunctional group. I have been brought into many organizations to speak, and they say, we want to talk about team building or ethics, and I'm there a few minutes and realize I'm nothing but a Band-Aid in a very dysfunctional organization. You look around the room, nobody smiles, everybody watches it, everything they say, they don't want to make a mistake, because there is no such thing as just a mistake. It consequences for years. That is not a team. The rule of the price tag. Teams fail to reach their potential when they fail to pay the price. It costs you in time and energy and dedication to accomplish. And the greater the team, the greater the goal, the greater it's going to take. I was with the BCA, I'd pack up my suitcase and I was gone, and I'm living out of a suitcase. And you're going home at night and I'm living, in some hotel somewhere, and half my food is from the gas station. It costs you a lot. But it's got to cost all of us if we're going to be successful, because the goal is that great. But the less the goal, the less people are willing to pay the price tag. All right, Air to believe the individuals within the team do not have to pay the price for team success. It isn't about me, it isn't about you, it's about us working together to accomplish. So teams are critical and they're powerful. The rule of the scoreboard. The teams can make an adjustment when they know, where they stand, the vision. We can work together, we can achieve together. They have to be involved. There's no B team. We're all involved. Air to believe it is not important to be flexible on the path in achieving the vision. And this is actually, there's an article that's posted, that, it's called The Disease of Certainty. It really talks about the danger here happens is we start off with a possibility and then individuals in the team think they know the answer. That's the disease of certainty. I'm so convinced I know it, that's the only truth. And that becomes really a death of a team. You have to realize there's many possibilities and it's okay to be wrong as we move through the process and eliminate the possibilities towards the answer. Team building, the rule of the bench. Great teams have great depth. Think of like my kid played football against a huge high school. They had better teams but no depth. So as the game went on, they were worn out, where the others had so many people that had so many abilities that they could rotate them. The same thing as a team. You can't have a superstar. You have to build everybody in the team. Everybody pulls their weight. You don't want this one person, because D means everybody else who's not the superstar. And in fact, sometimes a healthy team is going to isolate that, quote, superstar. Teams can do so much more than an individual or superstar. And the greater I train people to do more things, and they're able to do more things, they're able to see the answer and work together. Teams. It's an error to believe that team success is not directly related at the hands of the workers of all members of the teams, not just one or two. The rule of identity. I talked before. People in my team, Cold Case, let's take a look, which is a long-term team, wore even a little pin. They belonged to it. They felt it. It was an identity. People in a team, this is a piece of who you are, and you should feel pride in it. And the greater the pride, the greater you'll see people willing to step up when it needs to be done. Error to believe that team members don't need to accept the vision and to become their vision and part of who they are. All right, communication. Communication's the key. I found that many times somebody found something because they knew everything and we shared information in the team. We had a briefing in the morning, we had a briefing at the end of the day. Not everybody can make them depending where you are. We kept you abreast of everything going on because you could be out and hear something and find out something that if you didn't know, you wouldn't know the significance. We made sure patrol officers knew and had briefings because they have unbelievable contact. We built our team far beyond the number in the team, but we had layers within the team to help us. Communication. It's an error to believe that everyone will be on the same track. So you need, people, we'll find, if you don't do what I'm talking about, we used analysts a lot too to help keep things on track. I had a lead I had to do. I read everything and knew everything before I went out. Because I have been in so many different multi-agencies where we're talking about what we did, and we find out, well, I interviewed such and such, and somebody, yeah, I interviewed them last week. I interviewed them 2 weeks ago. Well, I didn't know you already interviewed them, because people don't share information. It's critical that we're all part of the team, not just assignments together. The rule, the rule of teamwork, the edge. The difference between two individual talents in the team is leadership. The leader of a team is critical. It's a motivator. It keeps you involved. He has to come, or she has to come with experience that you believe in this person. And they can keep this team alive far beyond the normal life cycle. This is a critical aspect. Now, as the team builds and grows, you will find the leader will have less involvement, become more of a facilitator to deal with conflicts and help. But in the beginning, the role of the leader is going to be critical as this team grows and develops. All right, it is error to believe that the role of the leader is not important in this team. It's critical. The greater the leader, and I don't mean a great leader, the greater you understand your role, the greater you motivate, the greater you keep people inspired, the greater you understand people's needs. I have somebody, for example, I have somebody working for me that has a sick child at home. That means I need to make sure, if a person stays in the team, that I respect those needs. I have people at different levels. I can help. I need to know who they are. I need to listen to them and work with them. And together, setting standards, all of us setting standards, we can accomplish so much. All right, high morale. Winning teams, when times get tough, it gets hard, the greater the people are vested in here, the higher the morale, and that is so important in your role as a team leader as we work through this. The error to believe that success does not breed success. Every little success should be celebrated. Every little piece. If the only goal is to find the murderer and we don't find him, it's like we fail. Every success, and there's many, should be celebrated. Everything as we achieve and accomplish and clean off leads. Let's say everybody believes such and such did it and we clear it. That is a success as we work our ways to solving this crime. All right. Dividends, investment in the team, compounds over the time. What's the ideal is I have a team that I can call and they're trained and they're cross-trained and we have the equipment and we have the room and we have the organization and we know what the equipment we need. We know what we need, meals, we need different things, and it's all set up. And so the more we do, then the team builds into a team, the greater its power. It's an error to believe that teams do not learn and grow over time and mature and actually become a team. You know, Tucker, I'm going to post a PowerPoint. There's no lecture, but I'll post it. And it's about teams and the stress and how people build teams over it and how difficult it is and how the process till people accept it. Teamwork does count. I've just walked you through some of the difficulties of a team. Read the PowerPoint on Tucker. But teams can do so much more than an individual. But they don't. But just because you throw a bunch of people together is not giving you a team. It takes work. It takes time. There's conflicts. People come with all kinds of abilities. Some try to take over. They want to run the team. And you have to work with this and build everybody towards achieving team success. Thank you. I hope this is going to help you. And we'll look. I have another lecture going to come and talk about the 5 dysfunctions of a team. It's more geared towards your organizational team, or maybe even your squad. Have a good day.